Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Before we get started today, I wanted to thank you guys for watching my video on how to make lumpia. I'm preparing an upcoming video and need your help. If you can, in the comments below, please list your favorite Filipino snack. Based on the snacks that are picked, I will be filming my reaction to those snacks. In today's video, I'll be showing you how I went about painting this beautiful jellyfish in a galaxy background. First, I start off with my galaxy. I add black to various parts of my canvas, and then I start filling it in with some blue. Only when I started editing this video did I realize I turned my canvas into a Chick-fil-A cow, but then I started adding some blue and it started to fill out really nicely. And so I just wanted to go ahead and we're blocking in color at the very beginning just to get the canvas covered. For over the next few minutes, I bounce back and forth between blue, purple, and black. As I fill in the spaces, I begin to blend those colors together so there's a seamless transition. Once I get half of my canvas done, I go ahead and start texturing my paint. So I take a nice big bristle brush and I start dabbing it onto the wet paint itself, and we'll start to texture it so that it makes those blends a little bit more seamless. Once that's done, I repeat the exact same steps on the other side of my canvas. I fill in the blank spots and then I go back in and I texture it. Once my canvas is prepped, I want to go ahead and bring in my Under the Sea theme into my galaxy. And so I start painting on streaks of lights that you would see from underneath the ocean's water. Now that the underwater lights are done, I want to focus on my galaxy. So I darken up the corners of the bottom left and the bottom right of the canvas. I want to be sure to blend those in really nicely to the blue that's already on the canvas so it doesn't look like a harsh line. Now time for some stars. I mix up some bluish white paint and add a lot of water to it so that it will spread really nicely over the canvas. And I dip my bristle brush into it and begin to tap it against another brush. This will spread the stars across the canvas in a very even and random pattern. I then begin to focus my stars deliberately on where the light is coming from the top right hand corner of the canvas. I want to make sure that it is concentrated in that area so it extends to that light, and also I wanted to make it more of a cloud effect that you would see in a galaxy. Next, I want to make a Milky Way type cloud in my galaxy. So I grab my bristle brush, dab it in a little bit of white, and start to mix it in to the actual paint on the canvas. By continuing to tap and dab the paint onto the canvas, it's picking up some of that blue and it's going to create shadows and light areas that will make your cloud a little bit more believable. Once that's dried a little bit, I'll go in with some fresh white on the certain parts of my cloud area to give it some highlights. I want to make sure it blends, but I also want to make sure that that white stays really pure and prevalent. Now that my Milky Way clouds are done, I'm going to add a few more stars before I put on my jellyfish. If you like this video and other videos on my channel, please hit that subscribe button for me. That helps me reach the YouTube community as a new YouTuber. Now let's start on our jellyfish. The first thing you're going to do is thin out some white paint. Use a liner brush or a thinner brush and outline your jellyfish. Your jellyfish doesn't have to look perfect on this outline. You're just mapping out a place for where you want it to be, and then you're going to go back and put in the fine details. It's going to make it look gorgeous. One important thing to note here is that your brush strokes should match the direction that your jellyfish is going. They shouldn't be horizontal, but instead they should be vertical and somewhat curved. Next, we're going to map out where the two main tentacles are going to be. I'm going to do one tentacle and then the other, and then fill in the middle. want to add an additional top to my jellyfish after looking at pictures of jellyfish online, and so I thinned down some white, added it to a small liner brush, and then I started to go over the top of my existing jellyfish. Now that everything is mapped out, it's time for some details. I added a little bit of purple to some white, and I'm going to start adding some highlights to my jellyfish. On a jellyfish, there are some natural bumps and natural dips in its actual head, and so I wanted to highlight those and also add some dark areas so that you could see the natural curve of that jellyfish. I also wanted this jellyfish to be a little bit colorful without being over the top, so every color that I'm adding to this canvas, it's actually thinned out with a lot of white and a lot of gel medium from the Basic brand. For underneath the jellyfish, I thinned out some white with some gloss medium and just doing a quick brush stroke in the direction of the actual jellyfish. I then grab a little bit of purple and start working on the dark areas underneath the jellyfish. I don't want to put too much time and effort into it as it's going to be covered by tentacles, but I want to make sure that there is an implied depression there with that dark color. So while that's drying, I want to start on the tentacles. I grab my small bristle brush, dab it in some thin white, and begin to dab it on the canvas in a very deliberate motion. I play around with a few colors, blues, purples, pinks, but I mostly stick to white, and I want to make sure that that tentacle becomes really opaque and that it's not a harsh line. Next, I go back up into the base of the tentacles and start adding in some dark. I add some purple at first, and then I water down my brush and begin to blend that purple in, because underneath it, the blue is dry. Next, I go back to my tentacles and add some highlights. The highlights will put the lowlights backwards and bring the highlights forward, making this more of a 3D effect as opposed to a 2D effect. As you can tell on this painting, there's a lot of back and forth. I just want to give each space its opportunity to dry before adding another layer of paint onto it. So in this particular case, I wanted to add some highlights to the top of my jellyfish. I really wanted him to pop. The next step is filling out that second layer on the jellyfish. I take my high gloss medium, add a tiny bit of white to it, and begin to coat over the existing jellyfish, starting at that line that I originally put in. It was at this point I realized I wanted a rounded top, and so I went back in with a high gloss medium and a little bit of white and started to do that rounded top, but I could still see the outline through the jellyfish. But when you see the final picture, it will become a very happy accident, as Bob Ross used to say. I then grab a longer liner brush, grab some white, add a little bit of water to it, and then start to work on my tentacles. I allow the brush to do the work, and it was at this point that I realized I may need to darken the tentacles towards the back. So I started to add a little bit of purple to that blue color to darken those colors. Once the backside was done, I started lightening up my paint again and worked from the front. I really wanted to give this jellyfish a nice flow, so I tried to keep all of the tentacles kind of going in the same direction, but being able to overlap each other as well. This was a really delicate process. I had to have patience, and I really had to have a really light touch with my brush on the canvas. If you notice, I did make a mistake down here where the brush got a little too thick, and in a minute I'm going to show you how to correct that. I continue to add these tiny tentacles until the entire jellyfish is full of them, and then I begin to work on correcting that one mistake at the bottom left. Because the blue is dry underneath this tentacle, I grab a clean, small liner brush, add some water to it, and begin to etch away at the white paint that's on top. I wipe off my brush, clean it, add some more water to it, etch away at it, dab off the water with a paper towel, and begin to continue to do that cycle over and over until I thin out that tentacle. To finish it off, I add a second tentacle in that area so it doesn't look like it's a mistake. Now that the top has dried up, I'm going to go in and add some highlights to that top area of my jellyfish. I want to be very sparse with this because it is going to be a transparent layer, and so I just thin out some white again and add it to the top. While I'm at it, I want to go ahead and add some more highlights to that layer that's underneath. I want to make sure that that one pops as well, and I'm mainly doing the highlights on the right side of the jellyfish because that's where the light source is really coming in. I also highlight just a few tentacles on that side as well, just to give that dimensional look. Well, there you have it, your own beautiful jellyfish for your own home. Don't want to do it yourself? Check out my Etsy shop in the description below. Also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for all the latest updates on all of my work. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.